I'd like to welcome everybody here today. I would like to call on the head of the School of Economic and Business Sciences, Professor Jannie Rossouw, just to say a few words of welcome to our special guests.
Thank you very much for the kind invitation to say a few words here this morning. Thank you very much for honoring us with your presence. Some of you know me, some of you don't know me. I'm Jannie Rossouw. I'm head of the School of Economics and Business Sciences. I really wish to thank my colleagues for putting this together. For your role, Kenneth, please, we cannot thank you enough. Can we give Kenneth a round of applause for this? To Wendy and Sam for joining us. Wendy, leg or no leg, for coming to South Africa on a very long flight with your leg. We really have great appreciation. We have great appreciation for you joining us here. Please help me to welcome Wendy and Sam. Now, kind as always, Kenneth has made me the notes for what I must say this morning. So, Kenneth, thank you very much. We regard at SEPS an ongoing process of curriculum reform as a very important component of our work as academic economists. And the phasing in the elements of core in our undergraduate curriculum, we will begin to offer with that also a new applied development economics course from third year level up to honors and to masters. So we are focusing on core at undergrad level, but at postgrad level we will also focus on applied economics. So people will be able to study at master's level in economics at Wits, either what I loosely call neoclassical economics or what I loosely call pluralist economics. And I'm very excited about the prospect that we will have these two offerings for students to choose from. I'm also excited to welcome academics from other universities in South Africa. I've mentioned Stellenbosch, I know UKZN, we have academics, University of Pretoria, University of the Western Cape, UJ, etc. We are very glad to host you on this occasion at Wits. We also see this as an occasion for economists, academic economists at these universities to build better ties, do better networking, to figure out how we can move forward in offering economics teaching in South Africa over a broader spectrum at South African universities. We must ensure that we remain on top of current developments and challenges in our economics teaching. We must ensure that we teach students relevant and usable skills to ensure that they are employable and that they can make a contribution. In this respect, CORE is a wonderful initiative, but we must ensure its applicability in a South African context. Because in South Africa, we grapple with unique problems. I'm not sure in how many countries economists will wake up in 1 week, find out that the national carrier is bankrupt and the electricity supplier, Eskom, is also bankrupt. And we have to equip students with the skills to grapple with these major questions, in addition to trying to figure out how to overcome poverty and unemployment in South Africa. So from this perspective, it must really be the most exciting country in the world. We need to figure out how CORE will fit into our offering to equip students to deal with these challenges. Then, in closing, thanks again to Wendy and Sam for joining us. Kenneth, your huge role, not only in arranging this conference, but your huge role in the implementation of CORE, we are immensely grateful that you've assumed this role in our school. Other academics of the school, staff in the faculty, colleagues in the faculty, thank you very much for your support of this initiative, of rolling out CORE, also of today's conference. Then to Kim and Toluana, I really need to say thanks. If somebody can find Toluana, please, Toluana, join us for a moment. I know, Toluana, you've worked very hard to make this happen. Thank you very much. And I hope that we will have a very successful conference. But please give Toluana also a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Kim.
Thank you very much, Professor Rossouw. So I'd like to call on Imraan, Professor Valodia, to come forward.
I want to especially welcome Sam and Wendy here. I think we have two of the foremost economists in the world to kind of assist us in kind of thinking about what is it that we should be teaching. I've known Sam for a long time. Wendy, I've just met this morning, but I've known about her work for a long time. So I checked my kind of records, and I first wrote an email to Sam in 1988, before the end of apartheid and before we kind of had the type of country we have now. And the context of that email is interesting. So I was working on a project that was wanting to popularize kind of economics to kind of teach workers in the trade unions how to use economics, how to kind of think in economics, and how to change the sort of balance of power that I think is quite that is quite inherent in much of the economics that we teach. And I came across something called the Center for Popular Economics at the University of Amherst, which Sam had set up and which he was really instrumental in kind of driving towards making economics a lot more accessible and to changing how we think about economics. I wrote Sam an email, and these were probably the first few days that we had email. And quite soon after that, we received a whole package of information from the CPE, and it was immensely useful in kind of assisting us in the work that we were doing. But what's interesting about Sam is that not only does he do that, and not only does he think about kind of about the core curriculum and how we should be making economics a lot more kind of accessible and kind of usable, but he's one of the most fascinating economists I've met. So we were in a seminar that Sam did yesterday, where he was looking at how kind of equality has been impacting on our societies, and we all get excited about thinking about inequality in our lifetime. Sam's thinking about inequality over 25,000 years. And kind of how it's been changing. And I think it's the combination of his absolutely cutting-edge economics thinking about his work at the forefront of the discipline that is really something that should kind of inspire us, and his kind of interest in making economics accessible. So it's both the expertise at the highest level, but also the intention to make it accessible that I think is really, really important. I think similarly, so Wendy's done the most amazing work in the field of macroeconomics. She's taught some of the most kind of interesting economists in the world, and she spends her time thinking about what are the ways we can inspire young minds who come to do first-year economics, how can we make our field kind of accessible to them? How can we kind of excite their minds? So I think we kind of really, really fortunate to have the two of you, and kind of really special welcome to you both. I think there's a lot that's really good about our discipline of economics. And let me mention too, I think one of the great strengths of economics is that we can do things in a really kind of simple and parsimonious way. So the strength of the modeling work that we do is that we kind of try to capture a really complex world in a really simple, parsimonious way. And that's a great strength of the discipline we have. I also think it's a discipline that sort of forces one to think about the structure of the economy, to think about how you structure your own thoughts and kind of how you organize things to kind of allow you to think about a problem and kind of allow you to think about the solutions of it. So for me, the kind of structure that we get from lots of the thinking in economics is really, really important. But I think we should also live up to the facts that there are some kind of really important shortcomings in the discipline. And I think Sam and Wendy's work really draws out the fact that most of the economics that we do doesn't get us to think about kind of issues of power and kind of how power is replicated within the economic system, and we kind of ignore the fact that the kind of economy that we have now is kind of really an outcome of history. So kind of bringing history and kind of bringing power into the analysis is something that is really important. I think a second issue, and it's something that I'm quite passionate about, is that kind of our field really kind of ignores half of all of kind of all of human society. I think we kind of so driven in the models that we use to think about the economic man, and we completely ignore kind of huge amounts of social reproduction that happens on an unpaid basis. We kind of completely ignore the enormous gendered power relations in our society, and I'm kind of hoping that kind of as you think about these issues, that you'll both draw on the strengths of the discipline that we have, but also be quite forthright and kind of honest about the problems. I think the kind of challenge for you in the next kind of 2 days is a really, really interesting one. And I'd kind of ask you to think about the problem along 4 lines. I think you're in the kind of heart of the part of South Africa where kind of our students forced us to think about kind of how we run our universities, about how we finance higher education, about how we pass the burdens of the sort of cost of education onto those who can't afford it. And one of the important messages that has come from our students is to kind of think a lot more about what it is that we teach. And I would urge you to kind of use the time and to kind of enjoy the kind of engagements with the students and encourage the students to speak their minds and to kind of raise their issues. I also think, and this is the kind of second point about the way you should, that I think you should think about it. I was at a function last night, which was a sort of farewell for our Chancellor, and he made a kind of moving speech and kind of challenged us all to think about why we were all so quiet for the last 10 years and what responsibility we have in kind of all of the kind of state capture stuff that we're hearing about. And the kind of driving point that he was making is that it's really, really important for us, especially at universities, to kind of stand up to power, to kind of stand up to those who kind of abuse their power, and to stand up to those who don't kind of speak in a thoughtful, evidence-based way. So I kind of really urge you to kind of hear all of the criticism, but also to be strong and to fight for the discipline discipline of economics, and to not throw the baby out with the bathwater. I think point 3 is we kind of really fortunate to have Sam and Wendy here, and we should draw on kind of all of their international expertise. I think what we like to do at Wits University is to bring the best minds in the world to help us to think through kind of problems we have. So kind of exploit them as much as you can. But point 4 is I think what we need is a kind of solution that works for us. That we have to think uniquely kind of about our problems and kind of uniquely about the solutions. I kind of really hope you enjoy the next few days. Make sure that you explore all of the options. Think as much as you can, and let's make the discipline of economics a lot more kind of relevant to the world.